In the headlines, National Security Advisor warns against political violence ahead of 2023 elections. Federal government moves to rearraign Nnamdi Kanu, files 7-count amended charge. As Naira appreciates, Nigerians speak on raging controversy over Arabic inscription on new Naira notes. And on the foreign scene, Burkina Faso's new transitional legislature takes office after a coup. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. And welcome once again. Now, with just 104 days to the 2023 general elections, the National Security Advisor to the President, Babagana Munguno, has advised those with the intention to disrupt the peaceful conduct of the election to desist from doing so or face the wrath of the law. The National Security Advisor, who gave the warning to political parties during an emergency meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security with INEC, says security agencies will not sit idle and allow anyone to disrupt the election. Noel Samson tells us more.
The emergency security meeting became necessary after INEC's offices in Ogun and Osun State were attacked by thugs. According to reports, some unidentified persons overpowered the security personnel on duty and set both office buildings ablaze.
While the attack and consequential damage in Ede South was minimal, that of Abeokuta South was extensive. Materials destroyed include 904 ballot boxes, 29 voting cubicles, 8 electric power generators, 57 election bags, 30 megaphones, 65,699 uncollected PVCs, and a host of other assorted items such as stamps and stamp pads.
National Security Advisor to the President, Babagana Munguno, however, reassured the public that the security agencies are going to do everything within their power to ensure that Nigerians have peaceful elections come 2023. The Security Advisor warned those who may want to use the means that are unorthodox to stabilize an already delicate situation to think, as the law will not allow such person to go unpunished.
I want to assure you that the security agencies have been given clear-cut instructions to preempt and deal with any situation in which any rogue organization or institution decides to embark on what we consider to be a fundamentally criminal enterprise or undertaking. You lose your marbles or you allow your cheese to slide off the cracker, you will be brought to book.
On the spot, the Inspector General of Police said the police are ready to exhibit the highest level of professionalism and perseverance within the confines of the law to ensure law and order before, during, and after 2023 polls.
We have witnessed sabotage to the general election by destroying and attacking INEC offices, personnel, and so forth. It is our determination to ensure that these things are put to rest very quickly to enable us to forge ahead and conduct these general elections.
Despite the attacks on INEC's facilities, the Commission said it is committed to delivering smooth elections, urging all and sundry to play their part in ensuring the end goal is achieved. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan has debunked reports that 5 aggrieved governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, known as the G5, are fighting his cause. According to a statement released by his special advisor, Ikechukwu Eze, the former president also urged warring members of the party to settle their differences ahead of the 2023 general elections. Now, for months, the PDP G5 governors, namely Samuel Ortom of Benue State, Sheyi Makinde of Oyo, Nyesom Wike of Rivers, Okezie Ekpeazu of Abia, and Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu have been inconsistent in their demands that Iyorchia Ayu should step down as PDP national chairman as a precondition to campaign for PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Jonathan was reportedly called to intervene in the G5 IU row. Eze, in a statement, said it is not out of place for Jonathan to be called upon to intervene in the crisis. Meanwhile, PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has said his convoy was attacked in Maiduguri, Borno State, despite candidates signing the peace accord facilitated by the National Peace Committee. He alleged that the attack by some thugs was masterminded by the political leadership of Borno State. Atiku said this when he visited the former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, in Bina, Niger State on Friday. On the lingering crisis between the PDP presidential candidate and G5 governors, Atiku said they have been engaging them and will continue to engage them to restore peace in the party. He said they were in Imana to pay respect to General Babangida for the services he had rendered to Nigeria. Atiku was accompanied by the governor of Delta State and vice presidential candidate of the party, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, Governors Darius Ishaku of Taraba State, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal of Sokoto State, and former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido, among others. The federal government has filed an amended 7 counts of terrorism charges against the detained leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, at the Federal High Court, Abuja. This is coming after the Court of Appeal discharged Kanu of all the terrorism allegations, as well as appeals on the subject matter still pending before the Supreme Court. The amended charges were entered before the Federal High Court in Abuja and contained all earlier sustained allegations against the IPOB leader. Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has subsequently fixed next Monday for Kanu's team of lawyers and the federal government's prosecution team to address the court on whether the federal government could proceed to rearraign the IPOB leader on the amended charges, despite the October 13th judgment of the Court of Appeal that freed him. The federal government in the amended charges alleged that Kanu had issued a deadly threat via a broadcast heard and received across the country that anyone who disobeyed his sit-at-home order in the southeastern states should write his or her will. Meanwhile, lawyers of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, led by Mike Ozehome, have been drawn to a much publicized but rumored fresh 7-count amended charge allegedly filed against Kanu by the federal government. In a statement issued by one of Kanu's lawyers, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, the lawyers noted that the alleged new charge has the same charge number as the one already pronounced upon and struck out by the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, and has not been set aside by any superior court. Ejiofor stated that they have appealed to the Supreme Court against the appellate court's ruling, staying execution of its own judgment, which had dismissed the 7-count charge preferred against him by the federal government. The government had filed an appeal challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal on October 13th, which discharged all remaining charges preferred against Kanu at the Supreme Court. No date has been fixed for hearing of the appeal at the Supreme Court. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals are a global call to action to end poverty, protect the Earth's environment and climate, and ensure that people everywhere can enjoy peace and prosperity. Since the adoption of these goals, Nigeria has continued to show commitment to achieving these global goals through leadership and active participation. Mardia Umar reports that to amplify the call to more action, some youth who are key players in the realization of the SDGs across the country organized a summit tagged SDG Connect Summit in Abuja.
The SDG Connect Summit is an annual event that brings together key players of the social development goals to emphasize the importance of achieving the set objectives. The summit focused on getting everyone involved in actualizing the sustainable development goals in Nigeria before 2030. Some of the youths present at the summit said if all institutions are involved, Nigeria will be among countries to achieve these goals before the anticipated time.
For us moving forward, one of the key, one of the components of this summit is the SDG General Assembly, and it's the UN model version. We call it the Youth Voices, or the Voices of the People, where we look at all the 17 goals to come up with resolutions. And these resolutions will be drafting a communique that will be shared with various stakeholders. For government, we would like you to embrace this, look into it, and when you're designing programs, national framework policies, try to synergize this, because for
Nigeria is a path to the SDGs, and it's very important. It's from 1 to 17, and it mirrors every facet of the development of the world. And Nigeria cannot be absent from that kind of, because Nigeria, it's the hope of Africa, and Africa is the hope of the world.
Advocate of the Sustainable Development Goals, I'm passionate about for 4 of the 17 Sustainable Goals: Goal 2, Zero Hunger; Goal 4, Quality Education; Goal 5, Gender Equality; and Goal 17, Partnership for the Goals. Now, the program we're having today, SDGs Connect, is to connect all the goals together and find out what is really happening.
The SDG is just a goal that actually captured everything about our life, our life cycle. So we want a good environment, we want a good life. SDG goals actually cover it all. So
this particular summit focused on partnerships for the goals. I'm really excited to see that there is an initiative that is hammering on partnerships, because there is so much that we can do together.
The theme for this year is strengthening institutions in realizing the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria. Mardia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Still with us on Trust TV News Update. Still ahead, we'll tell you why Sokoto residents do not like goat meat. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. National Security Advisor warns against political violence ahead of 2023 elections. And federal government moves to rearraign Nnamdi Kanu, files 7-count amended charge. And moving on to other news now, to legislative matters, where Senate President Ahmed Lawan has asserted that Nigeria needs a knowledge-based economy to achieve its desired goals as a nation. Lawan stated this when he declared open a public hearing on a bill to back up the establishment of the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, Ondo State. The report.
The institute was established in 1992 by the Federal Ministry of Education in collaboration with UNESCO and International Institute for Education Planning. The institute is to serve as a staff college for planners and managers in the Nigerian education sector, as well as the West African sub-region. Assessing the education sector, Senate President Ahmed Lawan says Nigeria is not ready for a 21st century economy, given the current structure of the education system. Expressed the hope that the outcome of the public hearing will provide the Senate with an opportunity to make the right decisions.
if you want to attract foreign direct investments, in fact, any investment at all, labor is a critical factor of production. This is elementary economics. So what type of labor are we providing? We have to provide the kind of labor that when you set up your industry or your businesses that are supposed to be first class, first 21st century kind of concerns, you don't have to go and bring people from outside the country.
In his welcome address, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Basic and Secondary Education, Ibrahim Gendam, said the National Institute for Education Planning and Administration Establishment Bill 2022 seeks to give legal backing to already functioning institutions.
Having heard of all your submissions and presentations, I think the ball is now in our court to play it well in a form of going through your presentations and submissions so that we make necessary recommendation to the Senate.
The sponsor of the bill, Ayo Akinyelude, said it is sad that despite the institution's enormous potentials and its long years of existence and operations, it does not have an enabling law to regulate its activities in line with its core mandates.
It is worthy to note that the Institute, NEPA, Ondo, is the only capacity building outfit for educational sector planners and managers in Nigeria and West Africa sub-region, and the only parastatal federal ministry of education in the entire southwest Nigeria. Sadly, despite the Institute's enormous potentials and its long years of existence and operation, it does not have an enabling law to regulate its activities to strengthen and entrench its core mandates.
Now, Sokoto is one of the states in northern Nigeria that is endowed in animal production. It is estimated that the state has a total population of 2.9 million goats, 3.4 million cattle, 1.9 million sheep, and 40,000 donkeys. However, despite this endowment, majority of the people in the state do not eat goat meat. In this report, correspondent Yusho Adamu finds out why people of Sokoto do not eat goat meat.
Despite their affection for domestic animals' meat and the immense contribution to its production, majority of the people of Sokoto do not eat goat meat. Neither at suya joints nor at restaurants or hotels can someone get cooked or roasted goat meat to buy within the state capital.
Some people believe that this stems from the leader of the Jihad, Sheikh Usman Nafodio, that it was said that at the beginning of the Jihad, he made a promise that if God helps him and succeed in execution of the Jihad, he will at the end abandon or leave one of the things he loved. And it is said that he loved goat meat very well. And for that, he decided to leave the consumption of goat meat.
It is also unusual for an average Sokoto man to slaughter goat during festivities such as Salah, naming, and wedding ceremonies. Courtesy of this tradition, majority of goats produced in Sokoto are being taken to southwest and the neighboring states of Kano, Katsina, and Kaduna for consumption. Goat meat is good, which Islam allows us to eat, and it has nutritious value to our health more than ram meat. But the people of Sokoto believe that if they eat it, they will get rashes. Consequently, The few goats that are being locally processed in the state capital are largely consumed by other tribes. However, the impact of the long-standing tradition is more pronounced in the urban areas than in the rural.
Some people are allergic to goat meat. You understand? When they eat goat meat, they'll become allergic. That is what we call, the rashes will come out from their body.
However, if the government can find a lasting solution to the allergic problem associated with goat meat, this notion can be changed. From Sokoto, Yushau Adamu, Trust TV News.
And in business, since the Central Bank of Nigeria announced that 3 denominations of Naira notes would be redesigned, issues around what should or shouldn't be in the new Naira notes has dominated the discourse in many quarters. Among the several issues is that of the Arabic inscription at the bottom of the Naira notes. So what are Nigerians saying about the inscription? Chamun Dabeng has answers in this report.
Nigerians are divided on the issue of the Arabic inscription on the present Naira notes. While some are calling for the complete removal of the inscription, others want the inscription retained. Though the central bank has categorically denied the rumor of removing the inscriptions, this rumor has caused quite a stir among different interest groups, with bodies like the Muslim rights concern MIRIC urging the CBN to maintain status quo. Amidst the back and forth among Nigerians on the issue, do they really understand what the inscription means, apart from making it a religious issue?
Having Arabic on the Naira notes, I think since inception, it has never brought any value to our currency. For them to call for the removal of that Arabic inscription, I think it's about the religious perspective.
If you look at the 100 Naira, what is written in Arabic is just Naira 30. It simply means 100 Naira, right? If we have people that understand Chinese even, and you write in Chinese that is 100 Naira, well, it means it's okay. It's just a means to identify for people who are maybe illiterate in reading the English alphabet to understand, okay, this is what this money means.
The Arabic inscription on the Naira notes is not a welcome idea. Reason being that it gives it's giving a very wrong message as if Nigeria is an Islamized nation, whereas that is not the case.
The Arabic inscription on the Naira is actually referred to as Ajami and was put there by British colonials and has remained even after the adoption of the Naira in 1973. The essence of Ajami was to aid ease of business and was targeted at northern Nigerians who were not literate in English alphabet but were able to understand the Arabic alphabet. Though spelt with Arabic alphabets, the words are actually Hausa words.
70 to 80% of our poor men in the north, who constitutes large chunk of the villagers that are in charge of agriculture, that are in charge of local commerce, that are in charge of local festivities and then administration of local communities there. They are done in this type of dialect, the Ajami dialect, not in the Hausa or English sense of it. It is a unifying factor between a Hausa man, a Kanuri man, a Tibi man, a Nufe man, a Fulani man. It is a unifying kind of something. It is like a pidgin. Under Section 2B, Section 18A, Section 19A and B of the CBN Act of 2007, CBN has abundance of opportunity, abundance of leverage, either to leave it or to remove it.
For Hussaini Mohammed, the question is, how does the inscription impact on the value of the currency?
This is irrelevant, very, very irrelevant, because even if you remove it, does that make one naira to dollar equivalent? If you add Arabic word today to pound sterling, does it change the value of pound sterling? No. Bring uncertainty to our the economy itself, because people, the average foreigners today believe that Nigeria is on fire. We should be talking about productivity, what can raise the value of naira, stopping corruption. Those are the issues.
For many, whether the inscriptions stay or not, what remains is the current struggle the naira faces against the dollar, and all efforts must be focused on reviving it. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And now for a look at the foreign scene, where the 71 deputies appointed to Burkina Faso's new Transitional Legislative Assembly took office on Friday, more than a month after the coup d'etat that brought Captain Ibrahim Traoré to power. The assembly is responsible for voting on the text of reforms planned during the transition. Of the 71 deputies, 20 were appointed by the head of state, 16 by the defense and security forces, 12 by civil society organizations, 13 by representatives of the country's 13 regions, and 10 by political parties. They replaced their predecessors who had been invested according to a similar mode of appointment in March, when the junta led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, who was overthrown at the end of September, set up the assembly. A dozen deputies from the previous assembly were reappointed, such as Abdoulaye Soma, a former candidate in the November 2020 presidential election, and Ousmane Bougouma, a 41-year-old law professor, was elected president of the assembly on Friday. The establishment of the legislative body follows the adoption in mid-October of a transitional charter drawn up after consultation between the ruling junta and the active forces of the nation. Meanwhile, in sports, Super Eagles head coach Jose Peseiro on Friday released his list for the prestige friendly against his native country, Portugal. A day earlier, his Portuguese counterpart, Fernando Santos, rolled out his own list for the game and the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Talismanic captain Cristiano Ronaldo will lead the former European champions' attack against the Super Eagles, with the likes of Rafael Leao, Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes also expected to play. However, Peseiro has a powerful strike force that will scare Portugal. The quartet of Victor Osimhen, Tarem Murphy, Ademola Lookman and Paul Onuachu have scored a combined 37 goals for their respective clubs this season. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. Don't forget, you can subscribe to watch us live on YouTube and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.